Today I fucked up by getting way too distracted at the gas station by a smoking hottie. This was actually several years ago, back when I was a young lad with my super sweet Mitsubishi Galant, a screw-off attitude, and a penchant for the opposite sex. So, in other words, your standard dingbat teenager. I was heading to a friend's house to dink around, when I had to stop into a gas station to fill up on the way. This station was right on the side of the road, in a smaller residential type area, so it was really easy to pull in, fill up, and get right back out and on your merry way. Just after I pulled up in my stock cherry red Mitsubishi Galant, really can't emphasize enough how normal and unimpressive my car was. Even though I thought it was awesome, a stunning blonde girl pulled up into the stall opposite mine, and proceeded to start to fill up her gas tank. Being the ultra cool, super suave teenager that I was, I winked at her, waved a sly little wave and gave her my signature smile. Much to my chagrin, she just chuckled to herself and looked away, obviously not interested. So I thought, well, she's going to see exactly what she's missing after I peel out of the gas station, right onto the road, to show her that I am a total badass and someone who, in my stock 4-cylinder Mitsubishi Galant, obviously rides the line between civility and chaos. I know I've heard a comedian comment on this, but seriously, I wasn't sure what I expected, that she would run towards my car, waving her hands, asking me to stop because she was so impressed. I dunno, teenage me was really dumb, you guys. I hopped into my car, turned on the gas, and hightailed it out of there, and when I got almost to the curb, I heard a loud whomp followed by a clang 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 slap slap on the right side of my car. Perplexed, I looked into my right side rear view mirror, to see the pump and most of the hose flapping merrily in the breeze. I stopped immediately, turned around, and drove back into the parking lot, all the while the blonde-haired goddess was in absolute hysterics, leaning on her car, and I thought I saw tears rolling down her cheeks. I took the pump and the hose into the gas station attendant, said, I think this belongs to you guys, and then walked out back to my car. The attendant looked absolutely dumbfounded, like he had just been slapped with a fish. The girl by this time had gotten control of herself, and I winked again as I passed by, as if to say, see the kind of guy you could have had. This kind of a guy, who is an obvious idiot. To this day, I can't recall a more embarrassing single incident in my life. Thankfully, it was in front of strangers, and I of course never went back to that gas station again, but still, I hope you can all feel just a little bit better about yourselves, knowing that, likely, you have never been so brash as to try and destroy a gas pump trying to impress a member of the opposite gender. TL Doctor, my teenage, hormone-addled brain forgot to take out the gas pump as I tried to impress an attractive blonde girl by speeding out of the gas station onto the road. She laughed so hard she cried as I took the dangling pump back into the attendant, and shockingly, she still wasn't interested in my scrawny, red Galant driving self. RIP my inbox. My top post of all time is my most embarrassing story. I couldn't be happier. Thanks to all those that have said it made them laugh or smile. That was my original goal, hoping it would be seen by a few folks and brighten their day. So happy it went a little wider. And to those calling me out for being an idiot, yes, that's kind of the point of the story tongue. And that is why the hose is designed with a breakaway. Yep, they planned ahead for idiots. Giving her that second wink showed you were in complete control of the situation. Well played. I bet she's still trying to find you now. Edit. Wow. My first top comment. Thanks everyone. After that last quip to the girl, I was half expecting her to end up being your wife of 17 years. Would have been an epic plot twist. I work in a gas station. This happens far more often than you would think. This is actually very relieving. Is it hard to get it all back in order? Did something as embarrassing in a station. Spotted a fine-looking girl filling her car up as I walked in to pay. Came out, walked past her with a smile that must have blasted her panties off, swaggered up to the side of my black VW Passat, opened the driver's door while still smiling at her across the pump, slid in like I was Don Johnson. Immediately realized there was a surprised guy sitting in my passenger seat that hadn't been there when I got out, looked around in wide-eyed shock and realized I'd got into a complete stranger's car. Skulked away to my own miserable car trying to gather the shreds of my dignity around me while the girl wet herself laughing. Drove meekly out and went home and cried into my tea mug. Today I fucked up by telling my co-worker/friend that the mandatory pizza party he was called into was actually him getting fired. We work in building science. Once in a while we get performance reviews, which basically consists of feedback/congratulations and free pizza. So, we had that meeting today, which means we get the day off and free pizza. It's actually a really great day to have, because pizza. Nobody is getting in trouble since we're all skilled at our jobs. Everyone knows this, except for one person I forgot about. Now, the co-worker I'm referring to is a bit more new, and hasn't had a review day yet. He texted me asking why he's getting called into a performance review, which admittedly sounds kind of scary. Me, knowing all this time it's basically a pizza party, sarcastically told him it's because he's getting fired. Me being a dum-dum didn't think that this would come off as serious via text message. Oh Lord Jesus, it did come off as serious to him. All I got as a response from him was wow. And I said get yeeted or something that should have made this situation/bad joke innocuous. Today was performance day. He comes in a tuxedo with a costume monocle. People immediately started smirking and asking him why he's wearing a tuxedo, but he's basically just shrugging them off. Naturally our boss is kind of smirking and picks him for an interview first. Assuming he's getting fired, he puts on his poker face and eats pizza during the entire duration of our boss's 2-on-1 interview with him. Like, in the fashion of constantly having a morsel of pizza in his mouth, with an attitude. I can see them through the office window and I'm going through a fit of a mixture of laughter and being mortified. And our two bosses were kind of unsure if they should laugh or not. Their smirks turned to smiles, and then suddenly, all three of their faces are looking directly at me through the window with this stern look of confusion. My friend gets up, flies out of the office and calls me a dick. Everyone is laughing, including him. At the end of the day, everyone had a good day except for me, whose performance review started off with "What are you 15?" But I still got free pizza and finally saw a monocle in real life. Too long didn't read, told my friend/co-worker he's getting fired, even though it was a harmless performance review and pizza party. He shows up in a tuxedo and a costume monocle and eats pizza during the entire duration of his interview. I like the dude that comes to his firing in a tux with a monocle. I don't know about you, but this sounds like an awesome way to fuck it up. Yeah, but imagine if he came in and started ranting and raving and spouting off at the bosses. I wanna know why his first reaction to "I'm getting fired" was to wear a tuxedo and a monocle to his performance review. Because have you ever heard of anyone in a tuxedo and monocle getting fired? Me neither. You need to own this fuck up by calling him Mr. Peanut from now on. I said that to a new colleague as a joke. He was fired. I used to work at a call center. I was in a coaching role and I found out a kid was hanging up on people. Anyways, a few weeks later he goes into a meeting and on the way there the girl next to him goes, "Hey, you forgot your coaching book." He responds back with, "I don't need it, I'm getting fired." Everyone but me just starts laughing because I knew he was actually about to get fired in that meeting. Most uncomfortable 30 seconds of my life. Today I fucked up by having a scary dream, resulting in the police being called for a missing person, me. This is probably my sister's favorite memory from us growing up. This all happened when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I had had a scary dream and was having trouble sleeping, so I went to my parents' room and crawled into my mum's bed without her noticing, and fell asleep. When my mum woke up, she flicked her blanket off, covering me, and went downstairs to the kitchen. After a while of me not surfacing, she went looking for me in my room and couldn't find me. Panicked, she starts searching every room in the house, and turning up empty each time. No sign of me in the garden, and no sign of me out the front. Whole family have now started running around checking every possible spot a tiny person could get into, getting progressively more and more worried by the second. My mum's room was pretty bare, and I guess the heaped blanket on top of me showed no infant outline, and so they kept missing my comatose body. After a few hours, the police were round, filling in a missing persons report and taking all possible identifying details. I wish I could remember everyone's reactions when Sleepy U/Rudy Mental walks downstairs into a room full of super stressed out and concerned people, but my sister tells me it was one of the best things she ever got to witness. My mother was a flood of every emotion, and the police were glad I was fine. I was confused, but not nearly as much as everyone else. That day my family learned how bad they are at hide and seek, and what I am able to sleep through. Doctor, fell asleep in my mum's bed unbeknownst to her. When she woke up, the blanket covered me, and she couldn't find me, resulting in the police being called. I guess they don't possess a particular set of skills. Taken 4, nap time. I won't find you, and I won't kill you. Edit, or thanks for my first silver, kind stranger. Strangers. A similar thing happened to my friend when we were around 17. We went out and I took her home after. I made sure she got inside her house and closed the gate behind her as I always do with all my friends. I then left to meet my boyfriend and stayed with him until like midnight when I went home. At my building, I see a mutual friend looking very worried. She asked me where our friend that had went out with me earlier was. I told her I dropped her off and made sure she went inside her house. Her dad was a police officer and the police was already out on the streets looking for her. I then called her mom and asked if she had looked in my friend's room. It turns out her mom hadn't looked in her room, her cell phone died and she fell asleep as soon as she got home. So the police was looking for her while she was sleeping in her own bed. Lol. This is why my country's police force is required to tear the house apart searching before they look farther out. This reminds me of when I was seeing this guy and one night I fell asleep on the couch in a different room in the house and he couldn't find me, didn't actually look for me. And I woke up to like a million text messages of him accusing me of cheating on him because I'd often disappeared in the middle of the night. Well, there's a bundle of red flags for you. My little brother snores like a trucker, even when he was very young. Once he woke me up from a dead sleep from the next room, so I dragged my 10-year-old self into his room. He was like 5 or 6 and shook him to try to move him so he'd stop snoring. But I guess I shoved him too hard and I really scared him and he started yelling. I didn't want him to wake up my parents, so I put my hand over his mouth. Big mistake. This was the early 90s and people were way concerned about random stranger abductions, and you can guess. He thought I was a very small kidnapper. So he bit my hand and started screaming kidnapper at the top of his lungs, which really woke up my parents. I was trying to get him to fully wake up and realize it was me when I heard my mom say to my dad, "Wake up. Call the police." So my brother is screaming kidnapper over and over at the same time I'm screaming at my parents not to call 911 because there is no kidnapper in a completely dark house. My dad came running down the hall with a golf club swinging before my mom finally turned on all the lights and nearly killed us all herself. Thankfully no police showed up. I don't know how we would have explained my dad standing over 2 small sobbing kids with a golf club in his hands. This is amazing.